The gunship bucked and twisted through the flak field, like a bronco with its tail on fire, and I gripped my plasma rifle tighter as another near miss shook the whole bird. Through the tactical display mounted in my helmet's HUD, I could see the target zone approaching fast, a hegemony supply depot that had been feeding their war machine for 6 months too long. 2 minutes to drop. Night Captain Rex Amarillo's voice crackled through the comm over the sound of incoming fire. Check your gear and prepare for a hot landing. I ran through my equipment one more time, muscle memory taking over as the gunship's defensive turrets hammered back at the ground-based AA guns. Plasma rifle charged and ready, quantum sword humming at my hip, sidearms loaded with quantum-enhanced rounds. 4 plasma grenades clipped to my belt. Standard loadout for what the brass was calling a routine interdiction mission. Nothing routine about dropping into a hornet's nest, but that's what they paid us for. Knight Cody Beaumont, the captain's voice cut through my gear check. You're on point with Sergeant Davis. Take the eastern approach and clear us a path to the primary objective. Yes, sir, I replied, checking the sighting on my rifle one more time. 6 months in this war had taught me that Captain Amarillo's routine missions usually involved enough enemy fire to melt a starship, but the man had a gift for getting his people home alive. Around me, the other Knights of Bravo's squad made their final preparations. Sergeant Mike Davis, a grizzled veteran from Corpus Christi Colony who'd been fighting wars since before I was born, nodded at me from across the drop bay. Knight Billy Houston checked his heavy plasma cannon with the care of a man who knew his weapon was the difference between victory and body bags. Knight Tommy Austin worked his quantum spurs, the enhanced boot devices already crackling with blue fire. Remember, boys? Captain Amaral called out as the gunship shuddered through another barrage. This depot's been supplying 3 hegemony divisions. We take it out, we buy our boys on the Kepler front another month to dig in. This ain't about glory, it's about saving lives. The drop bay doors cycled open, and suddenly we were looking down at a landscape that looked like the devil's own backyard. The hegemony had turned the supply depot into a fortress with overlapping fields of fire, hardened bunkers, and enough automated defenses to stop a full battalion. Tracer fire lit up the sky like deadly fireworks as our gunship's escorts traded shots with enemy interceptors. 30 seconds, the pilot's voice warned. Taking heavy fire. This is going to be a fast drop. I could see the landing zone through the open doors, a cleared area about 200 meters from the depot's main entrance, currently being chewed up by enemy fire from at least 6 different directions. The intelligence boys had promised us light resistance and minimal AA coverage. The intelligence boys, as usual, were optimists. Go, go, go! Captain Amarillo roared as the gunship flared for landing. I leapt from the drop bay into a hell of laser fire and plasma bolts, my quantum spurs flaring as they absorbed the impact of the 20-foot drop. Around me, the other knights hit the ground running, their weapons already spitting death at the hegemony positions. Contact front, Sergeant Davis called out, his rifle carving through a squad of enemy infantry who'd been moving to flank our position. Cody, suppress that bunker! Billy, get some heavy fire on that AA gun! I didn't need to be told twice. My plasma rifle found the bunker's firing slit and sent a stream of superheated death through the narrow opening. The return fire stopped abruptly, followed by secondary explosions as something volatile inside cooked off. Billy's heavy cannon roared, sending a bolt of concentrated energy that turned the nearest LA emplacement into abstract art. The enemy fire slackened noticeably as one of their primary defensive positions went dark. Move up, the captain ordered. Tommy, Wade, take the left flank. Cody, Mike, you're with me on the primary approach. We bounded forward in classic fire and movement tactics, each knight covering the others as we leapfrogged toward the depot's main entrance. The hegemony defenders were good, I'd give them that, but they'd made the mistake of building fixed fortifications against an enemy that specialized in quantum-enhanced mobility. A squad of enemy power-armored troops tried to cut us off at a choke point between 2 bunkers. Sergeant Davis took point, his sword singing as it carved through their defensive line while I provided covering fire. The quantum-enhanced blade went through their armor like it was made of paper, and the survivors scattered when they realized they were facing Texas Knights instead of regular infantry. "Breacher charges on the main gate," Captain Amarolo called out as we reached the depot's outer perimeter. "Billy, keep that courtyard clear." The heavy Knight's cannon roared continuously now, each shot precisely placed to eliminate enemy strongpoints before they could bring their weapons to bear. Behind us, I could hear Tommy and Wade working their way through the left side defenses, their weapons adding to the symphony of destruction. I slapped a breacher charge on the main gate's lock mechanism while Sergeant Davis covered me, his rifle dropping any enemy soldier who tried to get close enough to interfere. The shaped charge detonated with a satisfying crack, and the massive doors swung open to reveal the depot's main courtyard. "Holy hell!" I breathed, looking at what we'd uncovered. The intelligence reports hadn't been wrong about this being a supply depot. They'd just understated the scale. The courtyard was packed with enough weapons and ammunition to supply an army. Stacks of plasma rifles reached toward the sky like metallic mountains. Artillery pieces sat in neat rows waiting to be shipped to the front lines. And in the center of it all, a massive fusion reactor that powered the whole operation. "That's our target," Captain Amarillo said, pointing toward the reactor. "We take that out, the whole depot goes up like the 4th of July. "Sir," Sergeant Davis called out, studying his tactical display. "I'm reading heavy reinforcements inbound. Company strength, maybe more. They're not going to let us just waltz out of here." The captain nodded grimly. "Then we better work fast. Cody, Mike, get to that reactor and plant the charges. Rest of you, set up a defensive perimeter. We hold until the job's done, then we extract under fire." I followed Sergeant Davis toward the reactor, my rifle ready as we moved through the maze of stored weapons. The hegemony had built their depot well, too well. Taking out the reactor would trigger a chain reaction that would level the entire complex, along with enough military hardware to equip several divisions. "Contact rear!" Billy's voice crackled over the comm. "They're coming through the main gate!" The sound of plasma fire echoed through the courtyard as the other knights engaged the hegemony reinforcements. I could hear Captain Amarillo calling out targets, coordinating the defense while Sergeant Davis and I worked on the primary mission. "Cover me," Davis ordered, pulling out a satchel of demolition charges. "This is going to take a minute." I positioned myself between him and the growing firefight, my rifle tracking movement in the shadows between the supply stacks. A squad of enemy infantry tried to flank our position, moving with the practiced efficiency of elite troops. My first burst caught their pointman's center mass, the quantum-enhanced rounds punching through his armor like tissue paper. The rest dove for cover, but not before I dropped 2 more. "Charges set," Davis called out. 2-minute timer. All knights, extract, extract, extract. Captain Amarillo's voice cut through the noise of battle. "We have 2 minutes to clear the blast radius." The fighting retreat that followed was a masterpiece of coordinated violence. Each knight covered the others as we bounded back toward our extraction point, the enemy pressing us hard but unable to break our formation. Billy's heavy cannon carved a path through their ranks while Tommy and Wade held the flanks with precision fire. "Where's our ride?" I called out as we reached the original landing zone. "Inbound 30 seconds, the captain replied, just as the first enemy reinforcements crested the ridge overlooking our position. "Hold the line." Those 30 seconds stretched like an eternity. Enemy fire poured down from the high ground while we returned it with interest, our weapons' quantum harmonics disrupting their targeting systems and turning their carefully planned ambush into a confused melee. The gunship roared overhead just as the timer hit 0. The depot's fusion reactor went critical in a ball of fire that lit up the horizon, the shock wave knocking everyone flat as millions of credits worth of hegemony military hardware turned into radioactive dust. "Hot extraction," the pilot called out as the gunship settled into a hover. "Get aboard now." We piled into the drop bay as enemy fire intensified, the pilot pulling pitch before the doors were even closed. Through the tactical displays, I watched the mushroom cloud rising from what used to be the hegemony's primary supply depot. "Mission accomplished," Captain Amarillo said with satisfaction as we climbed toward orbit. "That should slow down their offensive operations for a while." I settled back against the bulkhead, my armor's cooling systems working overtime to bring my temperature down to normal. Around me, the other knights checked their gear and tended to minor wounds, the professional calm of soldiers who'd done their job and lived to tell about it. It wasn't the kind of victory that would end the war or make the history books, just another mission in a conflict that had already lasted 3 years and showed no signs of stopping soon. But somewhere on the Kepler front, our boys would get the breathing room they needed to dig in and hold the line for another day. And sometimes that was victory enough. "Good work today, boys," the captain said as we settled in for the flight home. "Intel's already got another target picked out for next week." I grinned beneath my helmet, checking the charge on my rifle. Another week, another mission, another chance to make a difference in a war that seemed to have no end. That was fine by me. After all, that's what Texas Knights did. We showed up, we did the job, and we went home. Everything else was just details. The eyes of Texas were on us, and we hadn't let them down. Many thanks to my channel members and Pathfinders. You all make these videos possible. Thank you for listening to this story. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave this video a like and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. Video shares, memberships, and super thanks help the channel grow as well, so feel free to partner with this channel in that way as we grow. With that all said, thank you again for listening to the story, and thank you for your time. On the left side of your screen are some videos I think you might be interested in. I hope to see you in the next one.